Hey, what's up, everybody? Today I'm gonna start doing the answers to the Q&A video. I don't know how many parts I'm gonna do this in, maybe two or three. There's 40 people who ask questions, and not all of them asked only one, so there's a lot of questions. So I might do two videos, maybe three, depending on how long it goes. But yeah, I'll keep track of the time and update it. So let's see. Let's get right into it because there's a ton. So here I'm looking at it. Question number one. So number one here is the Happy Console Gamer, Johnny Millennium, asks, "Where did you come up with your hairstyle?" Um, if you wanna check out my hair here, uh, my I don't know. It's kind of a self-designed variation on like a kind of standard Japanese host hairstyle. Um, I know. I don't know if anyone knows what Japanese hosts look like. Generally, they have this kind of like big lion's mane type hairstyle, and generally, mine is different in the fact that like the front is kind of long, but the top is spiky and the back is short. Um, I don't know. It's just based on kind of how I wanted to. I don't know, look when I made the design for it. And then I also some preferences, like I don't like to have the back of my hair long because it's annoying. So I just, you know, designed it to be that way. I know some people have said that it looks that I look kind of like a Final Fantasy character or something like that, and that wasn't originally my plan when I made the hairstyle this way. It just happened to turn out that way. So I don't know. That could be true, but it's not. It wasn't the design. I wasn't. I didn't like look at anything and come up with it. I just kind of designed it myself. So that's how I did it. I actually drew pictures. So let's see. Number two, Overlord Megamax asks, "What is some good basic vocabulary for people who are going to travel to Japan?" Um, really, your best bet is if you're just traveling is to get uh, just basic directions and things like that down. I don't think you won't really have to do much besides ask people like directions for stuff. I don't think. I mean, as long as you can understand that and you're just traveling and you're not like going out of your way to talk to people, you should be fine with just knowing how to get places. I think in any type of language learning situation, you always have to like the book textbooks and things always show like the first couple of lessons are always like the most boring, but they're always the most pertinent for getting around and stuff. So probably that stuff is pretty handy. So let's see. Number three, I'm the real Saturn Sonic asks, "What made you decide to live in Japan?" And I originally came to Japan as a tourist in 2001, and then I studied abroad here or after that. And then after I graduated college, I came back to study Japanese for graduate school. And from there, I studied Japanese for a couple of years and just decided to get a job instead. So that's what happened. I just had been in Japan studying Japanese and I liked it enough to stay. So that's it. So number four, Pwheat23 asks, "What is your favorite video game developer?" Now, this is a tough question because I think for the longest time, since the NES days, most of my favorite games on the NES and were made by Capcom. And from that time, I always have like a kind of soft spot for Capcom. And Capcom genuinely makes a lot of good games. Most of the stuff they put out is genuinely good. And it's not all great. My favorite game isn't a Capcom game, and my favorite series isn't a Capcom series, but overall as a developer, Capcom is pretty solid. Um, so I guess I'll go with them just for their quality track record of creating good series. So, Capcom. And let's see, number five, Dragon Hunter G asks, Where was your home back in the States? And do you have a favorite game series? That's two questions. But I used to live in Connecticut in the States, and it's not bad. Connecticut is a nice place. It's small, and you can easily get to places that are interesting. So for my hometown, it's about an hour and a half drive to New York City, and about an hour and a half drive to Boston. So I don't know. You kind of win both ways as long as you have a car. So so yeah, that's I'm from Connecticut. And my favorite game series is the Fallout series. And I started playing the Fallout series on my Mac in 1996. And it was, interesting because, the Mac in 1996 almost got zero for ports, almost nothing. Because, it was the Mac. Nobody was using it for games then. But, I had a Mac because I studied graphic design for my first degree. And yeah, I think playing Fallout was I think I put so much more time into Fallout than any other game that it Fallout 2 also, Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, I've done them all. And not so much the kind of non-canon side stories like Fallout Tactics, which I played Fallout Tactics and Brotherhood of Steel, but I don't really like Brotherhood of Steel. It's not really like a Fallout game. But the main Fallout series is easily my favorite series of all time. So let's see. Number 6, Monkey Crow 84 asks, how long do you spend doing your hair each day? Well, I didn't realize there would be so many hair questions. I should have left it playing and did it up in the video, but it doesn't take that long. If I shower and so I'm starting from zero, like it's wet, I have to dry it and then fix it. So altogether, that would take about 10 minutes. It's almost no time at all. Just blow dry it and throw in some wax, do this for a second, and then do this, and I'm done. So it takes almost no time at all. So yeah, 10 minutes or so. And he also asks, what's an obscure system that you would like to own and play on? I don't know. I think I pretty much have all the obscure systems that I want. I don't really... I can't think of any that I don't have that I would want now. I've got a bunch of obscure stuff, but I don't think like I need any more. There's a few things I don't have. I mean, there's a lot of things I don't have. It's just I'm not either not interested enough to buy it, or it's too expensive to collect for, and I don't know, I'm just kind of not all about it, so I don't really have any. So let's see, number 7, Kid Shoryuken, another Japan guy, so if you haven't checked him out, definitely do so. But he asks, what's your favorite aspect of living in Japan? So my favorite aspect of living in Japan is, let's see, I do enjoy a lot of things about living in Japan, but the main part I like about living in Japan is that it's so convenient. Everything is close by, it seems. So I have everything is close to my house. I have a supermarket close by, a train station that can get me pretty much anywhere I want to go, and I don't know, the whole convenience of living in Tokyo is pretty great. Much better than anywhere else I can think of. So I'll go with the convenience factor is the best part of living in Japan. There's a ton of other great reasons to live in Japan, but that one is probably the most noticeable. So I'll go with that. And let's see, number 8, Future Differenter asks, what's your favorite part of Japan? So I'm not really sure what he means, like if my favorite part of the Japan experience or literally a part of Japan, like a location. But I'm going to go with location because, it's a different kind of question. So, yeah, I think my favorite location, well, besides Tokyo where I live, is probably Kobe. And Kobe is great because it's central in that area, so in Kansai, you can go from Kobe to Kyoto or Nara or Osaka, or even Hiroshima is not that far away. So you can go to all those places pretty easily from Kobe. So I think Kobe itself is a really nice place also. So I kind of enjoyed being there. So yeah, favorite part of Japan. Let's see, number 9, Kumao1002, who is also a Japanese YouTuber, and he's actually Japanese, but I don't know that he speaks English at all or very well. But he does videos, and he names them in English and Japanese, and he adds annotations in English, which are, I think, taken from probably Wikipedia or something. But he does do great collection videos, so definitely check him out if you haven't, because I think he's in my recommended channels list also. Great guy. But he asks, how did you learn Japanese? And I learned Japanese by going to Japanese language school for 2 years. And that was, yeah, 5 days a week, 4 hours a day, Japanese language school. So it's pretty hardcore, but, you know, nobody else in the school spoke English, so it's pretty quickly that I had to learn Japanese to function at all in school. So that was pretty helpful. So let's see. He also asked, what's your favorite game? I don't really know. I have a lot of games that I really like, and a lot of and like my favorite, I don't really have one so much as that like it changes often. But I'll just pick a Fallout game, Fallout 1. Fallout 2 I'll go with. Fallout 2 as my favorite game. That's probably okay. So let's see. Number 10, Shinmag Yu asks, if you were stuck on a deserted island and could only listen to 3 bands, who would those 3 bands be? So that's a good question. It's difficult to answer. I have a lot of music. I probably have about 16,000 songs in my iTunes, so it's, you know, lots of music. But I guess my criteria here is that I'm going to pick a band with a lot of music, so I wouldn't get bored with it. So I'm going to go with number 1, the Talking Heads, who have a huge library of great songs. And I like new wave, is one of the genres that I really like, new wave. And so number 2, I'll go with the Misfits, who are great for so many reasons. They do a lot of horror punk, which is amazing. It's just great. So many great songs from the Misfits. I never get tired of them. And number 3, I'll go with the Wu-Tang Clan. And Wu-Tang Clan, if I can include all the solo projects and sub-projects and side projects, because then I'm looking at a huge chunk of music, and, you know, it's good enough to enjoy, and there's a lot of it. So I'll go with that. And he also asks, what's your favorite weird snack? So I'll go with, there's a kind of chocolate-covered mochi wafer that's filled with a kind of black sesame paste, and that's pretty good. So I'm going to go with that. They don't make it anymore, and they stopped making it. There's another variation that doesn't have the black sesame. It has like the peanuts or almond paste, and it's not that bad. It's just not as good as the black sesame one that they discontinued. So I used to eat those every day, but now I don't eat them at all because they're gone. So let's see. Number 11, Castlevania 78 asks, are there any aspects of living in Japan that you find genuinely weird? Now, I don't know if this is weird. It's not really weird. It's just kind of shocking. And not shocking in like a bizarre kind of way, shocking in a way that I can't believe people put up with it. And that's like the ridiculous cost of living. And it's not like, I mean, everything is expensive in Japan. But, for example, my apartment, when I moved into my apartment, it cost me probably about $6,000 or $7,000 for the first month's rent. And that's $6,000 or $7,000 that I'm not getting back. Like, it's gone. It's not like security deposit. It's like gift money and ridiculous fees for realtors and insurance money and all this other garbage that normal people wouldn't pay outside of Japan. And you know, even for game prices, things like a new game in Japan, like people think, oh, $60, I'm not paying $60 for a new game. That's too expensive. In Japan, a new game is about $100 right off the bat, and that's like a PS3 game or something. If you wanted a new, even like a new DS game is $70 or so. Everything is super expensive in Japan, so there's not really much to go on there. It's just everything is so expensive, and I understand, but it just drives me insane. So let's see. He also asks something related to another comment I made in a video. Why do you dislike the Legend of Zelda series after the original? And this is actually true for... I pretty much dislike almost everything Nintendo develops. And not everything, but almost everything. And I liked... From the Nintendo days, I liked up to Super Mario 3. Oh, that's not true. I liked Super Mario World also on the SNES. But after that, I'm just done with Mario. I don't like Mario. It's not interesting to me anymore. Hated Mario 64. But the topic is Zelda. So anyway, Zelda, I loved the first one. I absolutely loved it. And then I played Newtopia on the TurboGrafx 16. And Newtopia is essentially a Zelda clone, but it's so good. It's such a good clone. And the way that Zelda changed in The Adventures of Link, and the way that Newtopia didn't change in Newtopia 2 was the winner for me. Newtopia just beat Legend of Zelda, and I don't know. It never recovered after that. It didn't like pretty much any Zelda after the first one. After that, I've tried a bunch of Zeldas after that, but I've tried The Adventures of Link. I don't really like it. I played the Ocarina of Time, and I absolutely despise that game. I can't stand that game. I know that's like everybody's most favorite game or whatever, but I absolutely hate that game. There's nothing, I have nothing I like about it. I can't think of a single thing I like about that game. And Wind Waker I also played, and I kind of enjoyed for most of it, half of it. And then it got to that open world part where you're sailing around in the boat, and I'm done with this. I couldn't play it anymore. It was just too boring and too aimless, and I don't know. Wind Waker, I think I liked the art style of Wind Waker much more than anything else in the Zelda series. But after that, I also have behind me here, what's it called? Twilight Princess, and again, I don't like that either. Didn't like Twilight Princess enough to even play more than a couple hours. So if it gets better as I go along, I'll never know, because I'm never gonna put it in again. Someone wants a Japanese copy of Twilight Princess, I'm up for trades. Let's see. So I don't know. Generally, that's how I feel about most things Nintendo develops. I just don't even get into them. I like the Metroid series, but I haven't played one since the GameCube, so who knows. So let's see. Number 12, Paikades asks, do you have any favorite spot in Japan where you pick up your games? And I do, but it's not anything interesting. I have a shop near my house that's really conveniently placed. So when I'm looking for something new, or they don't have any retro games there, but when I try to find something like current gen, I just go there, even though it's a little more expensive than most places. It's just so convenient that I go there more than any place, just because it's nearby. So that's not an interesting answer, but that's probably my favorite place to go. So let's see. Number 13, Renegade 8164 asks, what's the rarest game or system you own? The rarest system I own, I don't know, Super Graphics, I guess. I don't know how rare that is, but it's probably the most odd one I own. I mean, I have a Jaguar and stuff, but it's not I don't know how rare that is either. I guess as a system, I don't really know what's rare or not. I just kind of play what I like to play, so who knows. But the rarest game, I'm going to say it's going to be... mm, Bazaru de Gozaru for the PC Engine, which is this bizarre puzzle game with a monkey. It looks really nice, actually, but it's really rare and really expensive, and it's just the kind of thing, like, I don't know. It's the kind of thing that, like, it's not even that long of a game. It's just like a puzzle game where you're kind of directing a monkey through an obstacle course. But it looks really nice, and it's really probably the rarest game I have. I'm not sure why it's so rare. Probably because it came out near the end of the PC Engine's life and it wasn't super popular. I don't know. That's my guess, at least. So let's see. He also asks, what made you pick an Xbox 360 over the PS3 in Japan? I didn't really. I mean, I have a PS3. I mean, if I reach up here, I can like pull out some PS3 games. Here's Demon Souls. Here's Heavy Rain. But I play the PS3 a lot less than I play the Xbox, and it's only because most of my friends in the U.S. have an Xbox. So when I'm online, I just talk with friends while I play games, which is, the main reason I generally use the 360. And I mean, some stuff. If there's stuff that's only on the PS3, buy it on the PS3. If more people I know have it on the PS3, I'll buy it on the PS3. But mainly, the main system I use is the 360. I don't have anything against the PS3, and frankly, Sony makes my favorite handhelds too. So I'm not like anti-Sony or anything. I like Sony. I just prefer the Xbox for my HD gaming console at the moment, and that might change next gen, or it might change even during this gen, but I doubt it. So I prefer the Xbox, but I have a PS3 and I enjoy it, so I didn't really choose the Xbox over it. But he also asked, do you like Pokemon? And no, I don't. And let me explain that. I don't hate Pokemon. I'm not into Pokemon. And I've only played the first game, so I haven't played a ton of Pokemon games. I only played the first one on the Game Boy. But, it came out when I was about 20 years old, and I played through the entire game, and I thought, this is an alright game. It's not bad or anything. It's just not aimed towards me. It's aimed towards kids. And I thought, like, if I were 10 years younger, this game would be awesome. But since I was, 20 at the time, it was just kind of, I don't really... couldn't get into Pokemon, and since then I feel like I kind of associate it with, like, RPG for kids, and that's not what I'm into. So, I don't know. Generally, I don't like games with a child protagonist. Anything that's really child-based, it doesn't do it for me. I can't get into that. It's too distant from where I am in my head, I guess. Things like Persona or something is like more close, I think. It's young, but it's like 18 or so, and I can handle 18 or so, 17 or so. I can like kind of relate to that, but like 8, I can't. And another reason why I don't like the Zelda series, I think. But let's see. He also asks, how much does it cost to rent or buy a small apartment in Japan? It's expensive no matter where you live, but if you live outside of downtown Tokyo where I live, it's not as expensive as it could be. So, when I lived in Saitama, which is just outside of Tokyo, my rent was about $500 something a month for like a 1-bedroom apartment. And now I have a much bigger place and a much more downtown area, and I pay more than twice that for rent. So, it just depends on how big you want to live, how big your apartment to be, and where you want to live. So, yeah. And what's your favorite food? His last question. And I'm just gonna go with generally Mexican food. Can't beat Mexican food, although you can't get any good Mexican food in Japan. It's like impossible. I just make it all myself. So that's it, Mexican food. Next, number 14. Duke Togo 74. He asks, how active is the retro scene in Japan? And is it easy to find hardware and games outside the large urban areas? So the retro scene is relatively big, I think. Relatively, because, the population of Japan is much smaller than that of the US and Europe, so... but there are a lot of retro game stores, and lots of places sell used retro games. So, it's big enough to support an industry. So I can't complain about that. And probably outside of big urban areas, it might be, I don't know, relatively easy to find games. As long as you have recycle shops like Hard Off or something around, you can find systems and stuff pretty easily. So it's not that difficult, I don't think. So let's see. Number 15, R.E. Lewis, 2011. That's Rusty, who's asking, what are some of your favorite shoot-em-ups? Okay, shoot-em-ups I have liked for a long time. But when I think of my favorites, they're all old, and they're all stuff I played when I was young. Mostly. So, probably my all-time favorite is R-Type Complete on the PC Engine. And essentially, R-Type Complete is R-Type 1 and R-Type 2 on the TurboGrafx or PC Engine version. R-Type 1 and R-Type 2 is actually just half of a game. But R-Type Complete is both of those games together as one, which is how the arcade version is. So it's like the, complete version of R-Type, so R-Type Complete. And probably after that, I'll go with the Salamander series. And I like Gradius a lot, but Salamander wins for me. I think I just prefer Salamander to Gradius. So I'll go with Salamander, or that's Life Force on the NES in the US also. But Salamander, that series is great. And I'll probably go with Parodius as my third choice here. Parodius is kind of like a ridiculous mishmash of goofy characters fighting goofy bosses and stuff. It's kind of like just weird. It's weird and wacky, but it's fun. And I think it's not for everybody. And people who like shoot-em-ups where you get lots of crazy power-ups and the screens fill with huge cool enemies, Parodius isn't for you. But if you like goofy weird stuff, then Parodius is the game that's pretty good for shoot-em-ups. And Rusty here also asks, what are your top 3 favorite games on the PS2? On the PS2, that's hard. I want to try and think of games that are only on the PS2, but it's hard. That's difficult. Only on the PS2, I'm gonna go with, I guess. No, it's not. I was gonna say Vice City, but that's on the Xbox also. I'll go with Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne, and then maybe I'll go with Persona 3 out of that series, because it's Persona. Persona is great. If you haven't played Persona, play that. Let me look at what I have over here. I don't know. It's hard to think of things that are only on the PS3 or PS2. I'll go with Silent Hill 3. That's a really great game on the PS2 only. And I don't know. It's hard because I think a lot of the stuff I played on the PS2 is also available on the Xbox. I'll go with Devil May Cry because it's a great series that started on the PS2. So yeah, I'll go with those 3. And let's see. Okay, next, number 16. Shady Great One asks, what's your favorite fighting game ever for any system? And for me, this isn't the best fighting game to me. I don't think it's the best game ever, but it's one that I think is the best because of the influence it's had and because it got me into fighting games more than anything, and that's Street Fighter 2. Street Fighter 2, I guess Championship Edition I'll go with, because that's the one I played the most. So, Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition. Let's see, number 17, Mr. Castlevania 1 asks, how did I learn Japanese? Well, I went to language school. I think I answered that already, so I'll just continue. Number 18, DSVKB asks, what games don't you have but would love to get at some point? That's a good question. I think there's a lot of horror games that I really want that are hard to find here for whatever reason. Those would be mainly though. I want Fatal Frame 1 and 2 on the Xbox. I've played them on the PS2, but the Xbox versions are different, and in Japan they cost like $150 each for the Japanese version because they're super rare. But outside of Japan, they're not so expensive, I think. So if someone wants to do a trade for those, I'd be all types of excited. So yeah, those are probably the main ones. Let's see. Number 19, Cold Logics asks, do you like to collect retro games or are you more of a modern gamer? So for me, I play games of all types. So I buy a lot of new games, I buy a lot of retro games, and I play a lot of both. So I guess both there. I can't really. I don't know. If you check out my pickup videos, you can see like sometimes I'm picking up a lot of new stuff, and then sometimes I'm picking up only stuff from 20 years ago. So it's kind of a toss up, really. Just whatever I'm in the mood to play. So I like both. And let's see. This will be the end of part one. I'll ask one more question, number 20, and that's half of the questions. So number 20 here is I'm ran away, or I am ran away. I don't know. There's no punctuation. Zero punctuation. That sucks. So, in all the meanings. But what aspects of the Japanese culture made you decide to live there, and how difficult was it to adapt to their social and cultural environment? I don't. There's nothing about the culture that made me want to live here. I don't think. Generally, I just like the location. I don't think there's anything particular about Japanese culture that attracts me. And that sounds bad, but like I don't, I wasn't really interested in Japanese culture when I moved here. I wasn't really interested in, like Japanese history or things like that. I just like Tokyo, I think. And overall, I like Japan. It's just a nice place to live. But I don't know. It wasn't so difficult to adapt to living in Japan. Like once you can speak Japanese, like you're pretty much fine. I mean, there's some kind of situations where it's a little weird, but mostly that's due to, kind of communication issues that people assume that will be there. And like so most of the time it's fine, but sometimes you get like in weird situations by virtue of how you look, which is, a little off-putting sometimes. But again, it's like that's probably something that happens to minorities in any country. So yeah, I don't know. So anyway, I'll end this as part one. It's already like over half an hour, and the second half will probably be another half hour. And then at the end of, I guess, the second video, I'll do a drawing for the winner of the contest. And I'll just do that through random.org, so it's fair. So yeah, catch you in the next part.